next question because it was stupid.
My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable.
Thank you very much. My name is Munenori Kawasaki.
I can't really hear what Jeremy said. I got like 2 Stanley Cup rings plugging my ear.
And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
Orr fights to keep it in. Has it in the corner to Sanderson. Back in front to Orr. Shot. Score!
The 1-2 pitch. Hit toward third. Castro has it. Spins. Fires. A perfect game. Roy Halladay.
You're listening to From the Sidelines with your host, Andrew Forbes. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of From the Sidelines. I'm your host, Andrew Forbes, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the tiger who found his roar and the drama in Eagle Land leading up to this year's NFL season. But first, let's get something out of the way. I want to talk a little bit about PEDs, steroids, those performance-enhancing drugs that have made a huge appearance in Major League Baseball. We saw the first major suspension this season when Brewers outfielder Ryan Braun was suspended for 65 games, the remainder of the 2013 season. But how much of an effect has that had? I mean, Milwaukee's not going anywhere. They're not making the playoffs this season. So why not rest Ryan Braun so that he's better for next year? So is Braun's suspension really enough? Is it really telling the players that, hey, Major League Baseball is ready to take a stance? I don't think it's really sending a message at all. Sure, it's 65 games, but it's 65 meaningless games. Now, Braun's not the only one who's been making headlines when it comes to steroids, and I'm sure every baseball fan and every sports fan knows that there are other big names that have been surfacing when it comes to PEDs. Lately, it's been Alex Rodriguez in the news, talking about whether he'll accept any suspension handed down to him by Major League Baseball. But I don't think there's any question on whether or not he will be suspended. Yes, he will be suspended for those who think otherwise. But for how long? Some have estimated that he will be gone for the rest of this season. Some have said all of 2014 as well. But there's that little report that's been hovering around Twitter and basically every news network saying that there's a potential that Alex Rodriguez could be suspended or could be handed a lifetime ban from the MLB. In fact, by the time you listen to this, Rodriguez may already know the extent to which he will be suspended. Now, everybody knows that the Yankees would love to see Alex Rodriguez suspended long term. I mean, that's taking chunks and chunks out of what is supposed to be another 4 years and $100 million. One way or another, A-Rod is going to lose some of that money. But should the Yankees be at fault as well? Should they maybe suffer a little bit? Because they do still have this contract. Should A-Rod only get suspended 2 years, leaving roughly $40 million on the table for them to pay A-Rod? Or should they be able to walk away from this deal and essentially have money to spend on free agents, on trades? I mean, that's the question that comes from this kind of suspension. But regardless, Major League Baseball needs to send a message. And if that message is 1 year, 2 years, or a lifetime ban, A-Rod needs to be the example that Major League Baseball sets for the rest of the players involved. That's the kind of enforcement that we need to see in all of sports, whether it's baseball, hockey, track and field, doesn't matter. We need to see a lifetime ban, and we saw that with the Tour de France and Lance Armstrong. He got caught cheating. He got caught using banned substances that made him a better athlete, made him a better performer than what he would normally have been. And because of that, he received a lifetime ban from cycling.
UCI will ban Lance Armstrong from cycling, and UCI will strip him of his 7 Tour de France titles.
Look, I agree. As a fan, it was exciting seeing Maguire and Sosa chase this home run platform. It was great seeing Barry Bonds go yard every day and counting down until he beat the record. But they cheated. It is cheating. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. But putting something into your body that makes you a better player, a better athlete, a better performer is not natural. It's not human. It is cheating. Baseball can still be entertaining. We can still have steals. We can still have collisions at the plate. We can still have great throws, great catches, still have home runs. People have been hitting home runs for decades. The only way to control what has happened in Major League Baseball is to take a stance. And that means taking one player or multiple players and setting an example. Suspend them. Suspend them for a long time. Suspend them for 2 or 3 years. Show them that you're not going to sit back and take this kind of undermining in your sport. Now, I was recently reading an article by Ronald Blum, a sports writer for the American Press, and it was talking about how Major League Baseball and the Players Union took part in a meeting on July 30th, where baseball handed over a list of suspendable players to the Players Union. Now, this list is believed to contain the names of several players linked to biogenesis. Among the players named are 3 2013 All-Stars, including Texas's outfielder Nelson Cruz, San Diego shortstop Everett Cabrera, and Detroit shortstop Johnny Peralta. Other names include Yankees catcher Francisco Cervelli and Seattle catcher Jesus Montero. Now, many believe that Bartolo Colon and Melky Cabrera and Yasmani Grandal would also be among the players named on this suspendable list. However, because all 3 were suspended for 50 games last season due to positive tests, it's believed that they could walk away from this scot-free. Well, not scot-free, with the inclination that their name has been linked to steroids once again. But let's get back to these names that are on the list. Because, as I mentioned earlier, baseball has to set a precedent. The only way to get this kind of bad omen out of your game is to set an example. Use A-Rod. Use Braun. Use Nelson Cruz, who his team is in a playoff run right now. Suspend them for the rest of the season. Suspend them for 2014. In A-Rod's case, if he fights it, suspend him for life. Let's not forget that Pete Rose was handed a lifetime ban for gambling, for betting. It's been nearly 25 years, and still Rose isn't eligible to manage a team, to be on a team's bench, or to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, where he arguably has a place waiting for him.
I just believe that the American way is to be given a second chance, and having a hard time getting a second chance.
But they took him and they used him to set an example. That's what Bud Selig needs to do now. Take A-Rod. Suspend him for life. He was the face of bad news for baseball only a couple of years ago, and now he's all over the front page again. He's putting a black spot on baseball. I understand there's more of an entertainment value when home runs are hit. Let's do it properly, though. I don't want to go to a game, pay $30 to $40 for a ticket, plus food, plus concessions, plus anything else, just to see a cheater hit a ball over the wall. I want to see somebody with natural human skill play the game with integrity and be proud to be out on that field. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting all the blame on the players. When the strike happened in 1994, baseball hit an all-time low. There wasn't excitement surrounding the game. There wasn't a lot of fans that were coming out anymore. So what happened was baseball needed to find a way of bringing the fans back to the ballparks, putting butts in those seats. And they did. I give them credit. I give them 100% of the credit for finding a way to make baseball a popular sport to go and watch again. And Bud Selig had everything to do with that. But he also turned a blind eye to what was coming into the game, what came out of that strike. He can't sit there and tell everybody that He didn't know about what was going on in the game, that people were out there using banned substances or substances that were enhancing the way that they played. And as we all, I'm sure, understand, there will be a time where Bud Selig will leave the seat as the commissioner of Major League Baseball. And that time could be soon. So what better way to go out than to clean up the game that you allowed to get messed up in the first place? And people, he had every little bit of knowledge to know that this was happening earlier on than when it was first talked about. It has been around longer than we know, but we accepted it because we were happy to go to games and see balls fly over the wall. At this point, you're not going to lose fans by cleaning up the game. The knowledge is out there now. Fans are not happy to know that they're paying to see these guys basically use whatever means possible to make the game entertaining. The game can be entertaining without having to fill the players with this kind of, essentially it's a poison, right? Now, I had one colleague last year who talked to me a little bit about how it's impossible to go back and change records, to change who won Cy Youngs, who won NL or AL MVPs. It is very messy, and it will continue to be messy. So there's no way that we can go back and do that. We can't take away Braun's NL MVP from last year. We can't take away A-Rod's MVP, or all three of his MVPs for that matter. You're just asking for trouble. It just gets to be way too messy. But we can start here. Is the record book a joke when it comes to Major League Baseball? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I think it's changed. I don't think it's the same now that it was. Will Barry Bonds' home run record ever be broken? His all-time home run record? His single season record? Chris Davis seems to think that it shouldn't even stand. But are these players that have become more vocal, are they just as much to blame? They knew what was going on in the dressing rooms. They knew what was going on in the clubhouses. And they didn't say anything. They may not have indulged in this phenomena that was PEDs, but they sure as hell didn't say anything either. They waited and they waited until somebody figured it out, until somebody wanted to make it public. So to take away all these awards, to take away these records that were set, to put an asterisk beside them, that just gets way too messy. Do we call it a different era? Do we call it the steroid era versus the pre-steroid era versus the post-steroid era? Do you see how impossible that makes it to decipher between each era? It can't happen. What needs to happen is it needs to change now. Something needs to be done to tell these players, to tell these trainers, to tell whoever is involved that this can't be accepted, that this won't be accepted in Major League Baseball anymore. And I think Braun was the first step, but as I mentioned, Braun's suspension doesn't have an effect. Milwaukee isn't even in the playoff picture. Do it to a big name. Make it a long, long suspension. Make people think about what they're doing. Don't reward them. Toronto rewarded Melky Cabrera last year for having a great season, even though he was suspended for 50 games. 2 years and whatever quadrillion dollars that he wanted. It's a reward when these guys hit .326 with 26 home runs and 106 RBIs. We reward them. That's where it has to stop. And that's the only way that you're going to get PEDs or steroids out of the game of baseball. Use somebody as an example. If A-Rod fights his suspension, give him a lifetime ban. Get rid of these scumbags out of the game. That's the only way you get a clean sport. And even then, people are going to find a way to get around these rules and still cheat. And still find a way to make themselves better than everybody around them. But you have to start somewhere. And maybe removing Bud Selig as commissioner of the league is another place to start. But these are just all ideas. These are just my ideas. Send yours in on Twitter at FTS Podcast. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to see how everybody else would change baseball, would clean it up, would make it human again, because it certainly isn't right now. And unless something changes, unless somebody is used as an example and we stop rewarding these players, it's not going to change. And the record books will continue to be brought into question. But yeah, let me know what you think at FTS Podcast on Twitter.